I've got, 10 people coming over. Let me immediately clean every facet of my house. Let me make a balloon arch. Let me get a piñata. Let me get it just wasn't that way. And I think we're now kind of conditioned because of all these images that we're seeing that it has to be that way. And I love that you're kind of bringing this up.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Medeiros.
And I'm Colleen Hungerford. And this is We're Doing This Right? A podcast for the whole woman, mind, body, soul, and business.
It's humor infused, as real as it gets, inspiring, and you'll walk away with real usable tools for life and business.
If you love what you're hearing, please share with a friend, subscribe so you'll never miss an episode, and rate and review whenever you listen.
So find your earbuds, lace up your walking shoes, or cozy up with the beverage of your choice. It's time to dig in. Oh, hello to people that are doing it correctly today. Are you doing it correctly?
You guys, we know Cheryl is having a busy day when she comes on with an accent.
I don't even know where that accent is from. Maybe
just like you guys.
Probably one of my fairy romantasy books. I'm in some faraway land.
Well, yeah. I think we're in the same state today, Cheryl.
I know, we're so close and we're not going to see each other, I don't think.
So close and so far. I'm so sad.
I should have just came to Disneyland yesterday and crashed your party.
You should. Well, we were at Universal. I wish we were at Disney, but we were at Universal. We decided not to do Disney this time, but because it's just too much. But yes, I would have loved that. It was quite a long day, by the way.
Yes, those parks tend to be quite a few steps. Also, I think they're much like an airport where really nobody's on their best behavior, grown-ups included. I see a lot of temper tantrums even out of adults. I feel like at those happiest places on earth.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, will you do our intro because I am super pumped about our guest today.
Yes. So today we have Kristin Patrick here. Kristin is the co-founder of Orangily, a wellness beverage company. She lives in Fishers, Indiana with her husband and also works as an instructional designer. And I'm so excited to hear what that is. So welcome, Kristin. Thank you for being here and rolling with us this morning.
I'm having California envy. I'm embarrassed. I graduated from UCLA almost 20 years ago, and I have not been back once. Not once.
Oh,
well, that's a crime.
You need to go together.
I know. I think it's anytime I see LA on TV or movies, I'm just I get super excited.
First of all, Kristin, thank you for your bio, but that was not enough.
I know. Please tell me more.
Not enough, you guys. Okay, so what I'm going to do a little supplemental bio. So Kristin and her sister Andy opened, how long ago, Andy? When did you open your first bottle shop?
Almost 3 years ago. So summer
3 years ago.
2022.
So you guys opened right around the time when I moved here, a little bit after I moved here. And what you need to know is first of all, these two ladies, these two sisters are actual celebrities / rock stars here locally. And their business has grown exponentially in the last 3 years. They now have 3 bottle shops open. They're all fabulous. And then Kristin, do you also help host the dinner parties? Tell me about, do you do that as well? Or how does that, tell me about that. Sorry.
Well, there's only been one dinner party, and the kind of the founder of that, Amanda, she's expecting her second little one. And so I think, tired, super tired mama. So I think she's on pause right now. I know she had big plans and visions to do a bunch of them this year, but that's going to be on pause. But we're thrilled to pick up when she's ready to host again.
Do that again. Okay,
everything's got a season. We feel that.
The dinner parties was an opportunity for women, specifically women in business and women entrepreneurs and stuff like that, to come together and in community and have these fabulous dinner parties. But that kind of leads us into what you wanted to talk about, Kristin, right?
It is because actually we've hosted quite a bit. So the dinner party is one example, but word has sort of spread that, hey, that our store isn't such a bad place to have an event. It's big. Ultimately, when we opened our first shop, we ended up with a lot more square footage than we really needed. And so now we use it for events, because it's just so flexible. And so we have hosted quite a few just networking breakfasts, just kind of meetups, all kinds of groups. And I mean, we don't do too much because, you could wear yourself out and
Yeah.
overcommit on the calendar. But we've been really thoughtful about hosting different groups, and it's been a blast.
Amazing. Okay, so it totally interrupted, but tell us a little bit more about you. Tell us a little bit more about how you guys started your business and everything, because we want to know everything about you.
Well, to take you from, so UCLA I would have left there like 2006 to
Okay.
when we opened. I really was working the whole time in education, technology, and libraries.
Okay.
And I had a fun, interesting, rewarding career. Kind of worked out of all different facets, like public education, public libraries, higher ed, nonprofit, all things literacy. But that's not nearly as interesting as talking about the business, in my opinion. 2022, let me back up. Andy, my sister, my business partner, and I don't know if you have anyone like this in your life, but she's always been a visionary. That ability to look into the future, see where cultural shifts are going, see where just like fashion, media, she's always had that ability. Even just as a young age, I just like even in high school, college, just kind of an outlet, quirky, marched to her own beat, but also was always like just way ahead of her time. And so she had really been kind of for years diving into this idea, playing with this idea of sober curiosity, or playing with this idea. She knew that there was this movement like this that was kind of taking off. And she had introduced me to some books. So like one book is Sober Curious by Ruby Warrington. I love that book title because I think Sober Curious so perfectly captures a lot of what our business is about. Like curious, playing with the idea of like, what if I didn't drink at that party? What if I eliminated alcohol from my life? What would it look like? Another book, we had read together was Holly Whitaker's Quit Like a Woman, which we get isn't for everyone. We love it. But she and I, and Andy and I are both very open that it took us a while to quit alcohol. And talking to our customers, it doesn't happen overnight, for most of us.
Yeah.
And so, years of stop and start and failed dry Januaries or making it, a couple months and then, right? It's always like in a wedding or an event or something. We're like, oh, I need these drinks. We committed full on both of us in 2021. We're like, okay, for real, we're alcohol free. And I don't know if you have anyone in your life who has committed to 100% alcohol free, but it becomes their whole personality, right? It becomes like they're like, you become like this disciple, right? Where it's almost like you because the benefits are so great, you can't help but just want to talk about it. And
I got to pause you. This is a shout out to you, Bonnie Perry. I see you out there not drinking alcohol anymore and living the life. Talks about it all the time, all the benefits. She's the disciple. It's so funny.
Because you level up, you truly level up in so many ways. And so, our business doesn't necessarily suggest that people need to eliminate alcohol. Andy and I will both say that, hey, if you want the full benefits, the glowy skin, the sleep, the like increased productivity, we will say, hey, you got to go all in. So we both went all in 2021, and we always joke we love projects. Like we wanted some sort of project, like something to like share this, like alcohol-free religion. And we were kind of playing around with different ideas. And Andy and I both love magazines. We've always loved magazines. We get that from our mom. We get that probably from our grandma. I still love magazines to this day. So come across a magazine article in Vogue called Booze-Free Bottle Shops Are Making Dry January Easier Than Ever. And it talked about 2 alcohol-free stores, one in Manhattan called Spirited Away, and another one in Charleston, South Carolina called Sachet. And I showed the article to Andy, and Andy instantly like, we're doing it. And I'm like, no, hold on. She said, no, we're doing it. And she, the next day, was on the phone, trying to like track down commercial real estate people and trying to find a space. Which
Andy is Cheryl, by the way.
I know, Andy feels like my soul sister.
Andy is Cheryl. Andy's like, zero chill Cheryl. Like, we're doing it. We're going all in. And I love it so much.
Like, whoa, wait, hold up. Like, can't we just like put a pin in it? Like, let's no, we have to do it now. And so then, finding retail space in Central Indiana was very hard. I mean, Colleen working in real, can testify that like, it's not like you just go find something the next day.
Yeah.
So that was a journey. And then, found the space, like I said a moment ago, much bigger than we really needed, but now we use it for events.
Yeah. Amazing. I mean, and that is you've got 2 in Carmel, right? Was your first one the East Carmel one?
Yes. So right next to Cafe Patachu, a very busy brunch spot. And that's kind of what gave us the confidence to be like, all right, well, at least we're going to have this steady stream of people walking by. I mean, the original plan was like, okay, we're going to have this little niche store and we're going to make enough to pay the bills. And we can check off this life dream of always having our own shop. And then it turns out lots of people are interested.
Yeah. So I first met you, Kristin. I actually went to an event at that shop in East Carmel. And I don't even know, you were doing a presentation also on the shop, but then you talked a lot about Shopify and stuff like that.
Yes, it was an Indie Maven event. Yes.
Yeah, it was an Indie Maven event, and shout out to Indie Maven because they are amazing at connecting women. But I remember being in this environment and thinking like, oh, I didn't realize that this was like a thing. And 2, that this alcohol free or, sober curious or whatever community even existed. And 2, I was like, oh, this stuff is actually really good and really fun. I think I remember and I bought some the other day when your 3rd shop opened, which was incredible, was an NA rosé. And I was like, oh my God, this is really good. And I could very much enjoy this on a summer day and it not feel any different. And then it did get me kind of thinking about well, I think when you start having the conversations and you created a space for this, you start thinking why do I drink that alcohol in the middle of the day at brunch? What am I trying to achieve here? Even last night I went out with my sister-in-law and my husband and her husband, and I had a couple drinks, and now this morning I'm like, now I don't feel hungover, but I also just don't feel great. Why did I do that? Why are we? It really is an interesting perspective when it's really put in front of your face, right? Not in a weird way, but in a very nice way. I was like, oh God, what are we doing? And Cheryl, you are doing this now too, right? Have you?
Yeah. So the middle of December, the full transparency reasons why I decided to go this direction was, 1, Emmy, my middle daughter, who we've been talking about, she's recently diagnosed with an autoimmune thing that's really comes out in behavior. And I was needing to be incredibly patient to deal with those behaviors. And I'm in perimenopause. You guys just want to hear all about it. I'm in perimenopause and I'm already not sleeping well. And I just know I don't sleep that well when I have alcohol. I've watched that for the last few years. And so those 2 things were kind of the start. I was like, oh, and I kept going to therapy, and the therapist kept saying, you really need to find a way to pour into yourself. You really need to, you need self-care. I have 3 kids. I work full time. I'm a very ambitious entrepreneur. We're going through all this with my daughter. Fucking self-care is a joke. I read my emails when I'm getting a massage. It doesn't happen. So I'm like, well, the only 8, if I have 8 hours for myself in a 24-hour period and it's while I'm asleep, I better try to get the most quality sleep possible. So that was kind of the start. And then I've been reading the 10X is easier than 2X. And it talks about needing to make a radical shift. To go 10X, you have to stop doing lots of things. And you have to get really creative to really excel and go further. And I was like, well, if I want to go 10X, I know not drinking alcohol will make me more productive and those things as well. So then that's kind of reaffirmed it. I've had a drink here, or I barrel tasted it somewhere. It was a really fun event where they take all their barrels out and then you get to help pick their vintage and what they use. And so I drank there just not even a full glass. And I had 1 beer since the middle of December, and the 1 beer destroyed me for days. I was not hungover. I had an inflammation response. I became unwell after drinking it. And I was like, well, that wasn't great. So it's become quite easy to I'm good. It's not worth it. I don't need it. I need sleep and I need productivity, and those things that doesn't mix with it. Now, the interesting thing, having done this and in my life, it's always so interesting to see how much your life actually resolved around alcohol events when you stop drinking.
Yes.
And so that's been an interesting shift. Like I go to my bunkos and I don't drink now. I'm ready to go home a little earlier than I used to be, which is fine. Like I'm not holding on at 10 p.m. like, let's keep going. I'm like, let's go to bed. But also that is in line with what I want to do, which is be more productive and have quality sleep and all of those things. So it's fine for me. It's been an interesting shift, a real lifestyle change. Like I live on the Central Coast of California. This is wine country. Mm-hmm. One of the number one things people do is go wine tasting socially. And so that has stopped. I still have my wine club memberships. I should probably cancel all but the one because I still want to gift that, like those are nice gifts. Those are easy client gifts and things. And it is still fun to go socially sit, and I don't have to drink there. And I've become more comfortable with that over the last several months. But like when you're describing this beautiful summer alcohol-free rosé, I'm like, oh, okay, I could get on board with that.
Yeah. It's so beautiful.
Summer, sleep is number one. There's Andy and I will list many, many reasons, but I think sleep is up at the top because as you know well, when you have a restorative night of sleep, other things fall into place.
And when you don't, I will be crying all fucking day long because the Coleman girls, we cry when we're tired. It is what it is. If you see me crying, you should check in because I probably haven't slept well.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
That is Andy. Yes, that's my sister.
My soul sister, Andy. Yes. I know. She and I really need to connect. We have no chill. My husband's like, maybe we should get a new car. And he comes home and it's in the driveway. Like, this is what I do. I have no chill.
Yeah, that's just who we are, though. And I think that those are the things. And Kristin, I want to talk about the growth that you guys have had, that exponential growth, and I think there is a zero chill component to entrepreneurship, right? Like my husband is afraid when I say something, like if I'm just like throwing an idea out, he's like, oh shit. Like if I'm like, hey, what would be cool is if like we owned an elephant training company, and in his mind he knows like an
You'll
elephant
have one tomorrow.
In our house tomorrow. And so anything I say, he starts to like panic. Sometimes I have to be like, it's cool. I'm just throwing it out there. Talk to us a little bit about, because I do want us to also talk about parties, because we're going to talk about throwing events and parties, but talk to us about that experience and that growth that you guys have had. And especially because our listeners are entrepreneurs, our listeners are like high achieving executive women. Like, how did that happen for you? Or like, what did you guys do to kind of make that happen for you guys?
Terrifying. Yes. The first word comes to mind, but it was definitely like, talk about getting uncomfy. So my sister and I both come from like Indiana farm roots, right? Where I'm going with this is like very financially conservative.
Yes. Okay.
Very much so. Even like, so I live debt free, like my house is paid off. I'm like very like super conservative. And so the idea, I only mentioned that because the idea of taking out all this debt to build a business was terrifying, right? That like, oh my God, I have this really comfy setup, and that's really out of my both of our comfort zone, right? Because again, right, your money stuff is part of your fat, right? Like it's in your DNA, and it's really hard to undo some of those beliefs. But we wouldn't have been able to have the growth if we weren't willing to do some of those loans. And so Shopify, which you mentioned that Indy Maven presentation, has been a really awesome way to get capital. We've actually already paid off 4 significant loans through Shopify, where it's interesting because they have your sales data. They can say, they're tracking you, right? They can say, hey, we have a pretty solid picture of that you're going to pay us off and when you're going to pay us off because we can see your sales data. So you apply, and that money is in your account the next day. And so
Shopify is giving you the loans, like the business loans?
Yes.
So are they your credit card processor?
They are our processor as well.
So are they paying it off through payments every day?
Garnishment, yes.
Each transaction? Mm-hmm. I just heard about this option recently. One of my other friends that's an entrepreneur does it through their credit card processor, essentially, like they give them a loan and then they take them a little piece each time they get a transaction. So it's being paid back that way.
Wow.
That's really interesting.
It's not for everyone, but what we do is we're doing volume and sales. And so we're able to
Yeah.
make it work. So like that part, that's been a big part of it too. Like if we had totally stayed firm about like, cash only, then, we wouldn't have been able to have that growth, but we were just, betting on the future. I mean, research, I don't know research, but like everything points to non-alcoholic just exploding. And we've seen it as well. I mean, we opened in 2022. We're in 2025. Our year-to-date sales in 2025 are already 40% up over last year.
Oh my God.
And so like
And
the
they're
trajectory is
one.
there. But it's scary
Yeah,
because it still has a long way to go. But yeah, betting on the future.
I was going to say, you seemed like the timeline seemed like early adapter to this kind of alcohol-free, the sober curious movement that's been taking place. And you're right, though, the research does point to this younger generation that's coming up is not drinking enough alcohol. And here in wine country, I'm hearing about it from the other end of the perspective with all these winemakers and, vineyards like, ooh, what's happening to our product?
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because one, I would say not only were you guys early adapters, but early adapters, I would say like extra early adapters for being in the Midwest, right? Because I think we tend to get things 5 to 7 years later than, what's happening in New York and LA and San Francisco, right? And so for you guys, for you ladies, to be doing what you're doing so early on and so, centrally located in the Midwest is really phenomenal. And I think you're so right. Like I know Sun King is a big brewery here in Indianapolis and in the Midwest. And I know they are now opening up a non-alcoholic division. And they're doing that just like how, they're doing it a few years later than you guys, but they're doing it as a way to preemptively prevent this loss on the other side. They're like, we'll always brew beer. That's what we do. But guess what we're seeing now? Like we're seeing the need and the want. And in order for us to stay in business, and it's so smart, companies are making these shifts, right? Like they're doing it, but you guys saw it so far ahead.
Well, when we initially launched, our father had just passed, and he was such an amazing dad. He was such a great cheerleader for us, and we named the business after him, right? So it was like Lauren's Alcohol-Free Beverage. But what we ended up rebranding last year for a bunch of reasons, but there were a couple of groups that we weren't necessarily capturing. And that was one was people who've never been interested in alcohol. And like in some ways are our ideal customers because they're not trying to compare everything, right? They just want delicious, lovely drinks because they couldn't see themselves like, why would I go to an alcohol-free store? When really it's just like an amazing beverages store. But then there's also this group of people where alcohol is very central in their lives, and they love their wine and their beer and their whiskey, and they can't imagine possibly what would they do in an alcohol-free store. And they're our ideal customer as well. I mean, most of our customers still drink alcohol. This is a way to take a night off, drink a little bit less each week. Or I would be remiss not to admit that a big part of our growth is functional beverages. So drinks that promise some sort of benefit, ashwagandha, lion's mane, CBD, L-theanine, ingredients, feel good ingredients.
Yeah. I wish, Cheryl, you could come and see their shops. Like when you go in there, I'm like, first of all, and I drink alcohol still, and I don't have any, but I don't drink a lot in my opinion. But, just to touch back on what you said, Cheryl, especially in the real estate industry, alcohol is a huge part of our industry. Good, bad, or indifferent. I think bad, but you're going to all these networking events constantly and there's always alcohol. And there was a point probably a year and a half ago where I was like, I'm having one drink or half a drink every night during the week, not for any other reason other than I'm at these events. But anyway, you go into these shops, Cheryl, and they're so beautiful and the marketing is so good and the packaging is so good and the stuff. I'm like, take all my money, man. You go in there and you want these experiences and this stuff, and it's so feel good. And I think it's so fun as a consumer and as somebody who's like interested in cool things. And I think you guys have done such a great job marketing as well and creating these events and participating in events where it makes it really real that this is a fun option for people. Like I went to their third store opening and I bought a bunch of stuff because I was like, oh my God. And I literally had to like, my friend Bob and I was like, chill out, like getting carried with stuff out here. But the other thing that was kind of fun and maybe weird, I don't know, but my kids were really excited about it.
Oh my God. The kids were losing their minds that day. We had so many kids. It was awesome.
And so they were like, Mom, can I have that margarita? I was like, yeah, I guess. Like, like.
Well, I used to order a virgin margarita when we were out at wherever it was, Chevy's, the Mexican restaurant I used to go to. Like, first of all, Chevy's chips and salsa. You guys, where can I find a Chevy's? Do they still exist? Because that chips and salsa is so good. But what I'm hearing when you're saying all this, we have a store locally here. It's a marijuana dispensary, but it's so high end. And like you're describing, the packaging is so fun. The service is so fun. The presentation of the entire thing is great. And we have a saying here, it's called California sober, where you're not on, we're not on the booze, but we're still on the pot. I'm California sober. I sleep like a champ. It goes a totally different direction, but it's just like the packaging, like you're able to attract a different demographic with how you're packaging and marketing the product. I'm curious, Kristin, so you got an MBA? Is that what you got at UCLA? Or what was your...
Actually, a Master's of Library and Information Science, MLIS.
Oh my gosh, so cool.
How interesting. So cool. And what was your, what do we call that? Normal degree? Undergraduate. Okay. So I'm wondering how much of like your growth and your strategy came from your experience in your education, or what was your career before doing this? Or did you just are you just grit, resilience, and finding your way?
So I'm 47.
Okay.
That was a long time ago. like IU Kelley School of Business, I'm sure looks like 6,000 times different. The content, the strategies. So it's cool to say I'm a Kelley School of Business grad, but I think there's probably very little that came from that experience that applies today. But probably more of it is that educator mindset. I mean, I've been in education for the last 20 years, and so much of this work is education. The appeal to going to an independent bookshop, independent bottle shop.
Are you opening a bookshop?
No, sorry.
Freudian slip?
No. Too many years. People are like, aren't you going to have a book? I'm like, no, I want no part of books. 20 years of books. But the appeal is the education piece, that we're going to answer your 500 questions about ashwagandha and L-theanine, and we're going to coach you through finding a red wine that's going to, finding the wine that's going to, what you want to get out of it. The education part is huge for us, and that's probably served me the most.
Okay.
Okay, let's party. I want to talk about parties. Yeah, let's talk about parties. Kristin, go for it. We want to talk about it.
No one has parties anymore. I just feel like no one has parties anymore, and it's sad. And I don't think that parties have to have a specific definition, right? Meaning, tons of alcohol and loud music and people dancing. I think parties can mean a lot of things. I'm using parties as just people coming together and having some great conversations, leaving their device, in their purse, or I don't know, setting it to the side and just having face to face. I do think we're in a party crisis. I mean, I think there's a lot of theories about why, we post COVID, right? Obviously, is one, but I also worry that social media, like the Pinterest and the Instagram, project this feeling that parties have to look a certain way, with the monograms and the balloon arch, and that's just not the case at all. I think it's really just bringing people together. And I have all my favorite hostess hacks. Like there are these cookies that I love from the Walmart bakery. As silly as it sounds, they're like so delicious and they're so elegant and the price is awesome, right? I know, whatever, Walmart, but that's like one of my favorite hostess hacks. These beautiful, amazing cookies from Walmart, or even like going to the Dollar Tree, like for the cocktail napkins, right? Or even just like a pretty plastic clear bowl to put your potato chips in. I just think that throwing a party doesn't have to be expensive. And you don't have to cook. I have everything catered at my house.
We were talking before, like I just threw this big launch party for Maverick Group, and it was fabulous, and it took a lot, and I wanted it to, that was also a branding thing for me, but I was so worried about people coming, to be honest. Like I come off like very confident, and I am, but when you invest this much time and effort and energy and money and whatever, I was like, dude, like what if I throw this epic party and like 5 people show up? I mean, but what I realized, and one of my girlfriends who was invited sent me this article from The Atlantic, which we talked about, Kristin, that people need these parties. We need these times to connect and come together and have fun. And it's something that we've been missing for a while. And I don't know if it is kind of a post-COVID thing. I would assume that is still a thing.
Well, and not even necessarily germs. I'm thinking post-COVID. I think that we've gotten so comfortable just staying home.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think it's a germ thing at all anymore. Yeah. I think it's a social thing. I think it is an isolation thing from that. And I was also saying to Kristin when we were chatting before, it almost feels like like equivalent to like a postpartum. Like we're still kind of getting back to this idea of like, what do I want to do? How do I want to interact with people? And do I want to? But I think people do, but they don't know how, and nobody's hosting these events anymore.
No one's hosting. And
I think that's the hardest part.
And I don't think it has to do with being an extrovert versus introvert. It has nothing to do with that. I think it's face-to-face conversations, away from a screen. The communal experience of sharing a drink or some food together with people is the ultimate. I mean, that's why I think that's what we're all looking for. But
yeah, I think so too. I think
even introverts are energized in small doses. Like maybe an introvert's ideal party is like 3 or 4 people at a dinner party, where an extrovert, it might be like, I want to see everybody I know in this 3-hour period. Like it's all different, and that's okay. There's room for all of it, but you're right. We need to create it, and it needs to happen.
It needs to take somebody who's willing to have enough passion about that, and also enough like time, energy, effort, or anything to just be like, hey, I think we should do something, right? And you need the one person. And I think when you're talking about, Kristin, the Instagram and the Pinterest and the things, I think we have gotten to a point where when we think we want to have a party, it has to be perfect. Mm-hmm. And I think there's so much to, if I think about college, or I think about like my parents when they had parties when I was growing up, like it wasn't perfect. It was just like people coming over and hanging out, right? Like, and like they would put on a cool record because they loved music, and they would like, yes, they all loved wine because I grew up in Northern California, and like, that's what they loved. And my mom loved food, and they would just do it all together because it was fun and they loved it. Right. But it wasn't like, holy shit, I've got, 10 people coming over. Let me immediately like clean every facet of my house. Let me make a balloon arch. Let me get a piñata. Let me get like it just wasn't that way. And I think we're now kind of conditioned because of all these images that we're seeing that it has to be that way. And I love that you're kind of bringing this up.
Or even just that it has to be connected to something like a kid's first birthday party, or or like showers shouldn't be the only reason you're getting together with your girlfriends. Just having a party to have a party, it's so rare anymore.
Yeah, I think you do feel like you need to have an excuse. Like I would love to, the Kentucky Derby's coming up. I've never been to the Derby, but I'm like, oh my God, I was thinking like for work, I was like, I would love to have an event where we did like a Derby party, but really it's just like getting people together and having fun and wearing hats, what I mean?
So just throw a hat party on a day that works on your schedule. Hat party. Yeah, that's totally doable.
I mean, and then to tie it back with the drinks is that more and more people are abstaining from alcohol. Again, the research, the statistics point to it, but that shouldn't stop us from still coming together. And I think that's where alcohol-free drinks can be amazing, right? Again, whether you look like you're just blending in with your book club or a holiday dinner with a glass of wine, or looking to just chill out with your friends and maybe choosing something that has ingredients that's going to take the edge off. But it doesn't have to be alcohol.
Yeah. And when we go back to this idea of like people being sober curious, or people who honestly have problems with alcohol, those environments become difficult, right? Like you go to a party and you don't want to be you want to be like hiding, you're like, oh, I'll just get a vodka soda. No vodka, like put a lime in there. And
yeah, like the pretend.
The pretend, right? Like, and you're pretending. I remember even like when I was pregnant, like it was always like, and you're not showing yet, and nobody knows or whatever. And you're like, I got to pretend that I'm having this drink so that nobody thinks that I'm weird or nobody thinks that I don't fit in. But this, NA movement is really creating an opportunity for people to feel comfortable in those spaces, however they want to show up, whether it does feel like they want to hide or fit in or camouflage, if you will, into that environment, they can, right? Or if they want to be loud and proud and whatever about it, they can. And they can still have something that feels fun and is not just like, soda water with a lime, which sounds really lame, or like just drinking a Coke. Like, I think that this is a really cool thing as a movement that people are doing, but also, Kristin, that you guys are bringing to the Midwest that really allows for everyone. We talk about diversity, equity, inclusion. Like, this creates an inclusive environment for people to feel celebratory, to feel included, to feel like they're part of something without feeling other. And I think that that's pretty amazing.
Thank you. I'd love to go back to what you're talking about. Your kids love the grand opening. That means so much. I think also that, so we've been very intentionally stayed kid friendly, our stores, because we get it all the time. People will call ahead or like, can I bring my kids? Or they'll walk in, kind of like, is it okay? I'm like, oh my God, yes. And there's a couple parts to that. One is we can't disrupt toxic mom wine culture if moms can't bring their kids with them to the store. Like,
yes.
That's part of the belief right there. So, moms are stretched so thin. So if they have this little narrow window of time to come to our store, we don't want their kid being in tow to stop them from visiting us. So that's important. I guess an idealistic part of me hopes it does start a conversation about why mom's there in the first place. Yeah. I wrote an article about this topic because it is kind of a contentious topic among some, but really very few people under the age of 21 are interested in even buying from us. Occasionally we'll see like a high schooler like on a date and they want something date, which is adorable. How do you say no to that, right?
Fancy and fun. That's cute. But
then there are people who take issue with that. It's like, well, but isn't that so much? I get it. There are a lot of ways to look at it.
Oh, because they think, is the idea with that like, oh, we're promoting them drinking?
Yes.
Or giving them a non-alcoholic fun beverage.
That's so dumb.
Like sparkling to you.
I don't know. I feel like you should be targeting prom parties.
Yeah,
I'm loving that. So for my prom, I snuck a whole bunch of booze into my secret bag that was in the limo. Like, how much more fun would it have, and better, like as a mom now, like I'm going to load my kids' limo with like all these non-alcoholic beverages so they can still because where that comes from is what they're seeing us doing in the world. Absolutely. And what they're seeing in the TV, in the media, in the shows, and the cheersing and this. Literally my 1-year-olds knew how to cheers.
Yeah, and they're seeing it as fun, right? And it's celebratory. And
so if we give an alternative of a way to celebrate rather than they're just like, I can't have anything cool until I'm 21 or, I'm going to be breaking the rules. Like, let's just give them like a safe alternative. I like this article. I want to link this in our show notes.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, there's their other location, the Village of West Clay, West Carmel location. First of all, it's gorgeous. Second of all, is right next to this adorable ice cream shop.
Yeah.
And that is like the most genius marketing you ever did, is putting these two things together, because you take your kids and you're like going to the ice cream shop, and then you see this like beautiful bottle shop next door and you're like, I want to go in there. And you can bring your kids in, right? Like before it would be like, oh, I'd like to go in there, but I can't because I've got my kids with me and this is a problem. But now you can, and it's super fun. I would love for you to tell us, like, because I don't know a ton about this, when you talk about these other like functional parts of the functional drinks, like,
Mhm.
can you, if I was like, okay, I'm a tired mom and I don't want to drink red wine at night to relax, and maybe I don't want to do, like, maybe I'm not into THC or CBD, like what are other alternatives for those things? Because that sounds interesting to me.
Well, we only started carrying THC and CBD recently, here this year in 2025. And
Okay.
yes, it sells very well. How to be But we went over 2 years without it. So most of that would be like lion's mane, which is a
Okay.
mushroom that looks like a pom-pom, ashwagandha, lemon balm, green tea extract like L-theanine, which are ingredients that a lot of people agree elevate your mood, mental
Okay.
clarity, relax, that sort of thing. But we always say, we never promise, right? It's all
Mhm.
debatable. It depends on, I think, your body weight, maybe if you're on medications, personality.
Mm.
So, for example, my husband I'm pretty sure he's undiagnosed ADHD. And I think some of these drinks affect him in the opposite way of me, which I'm not ADHD. Oh, kava.
Oh,
Kava is hugely popular.
what is that?
Kava is a plant root that's been used in the South Pacific for hundreds of years to relax. And then I think what you'll see, like in Florida and Texas, like kava bars. Well, actually,
Okay.
I think we have a kava bar here in Central Indiana, but we have a spirit called Kava Haven that was our second best-selling item this first quarter. And then these cans with kava, and they're like fun flavor combinations, like blackberry orange, raspberry hibiscus, pina colada, and they have kava in them.
I am like, I'm so green with envy right now because I have stopped drinking. Alex has made an effort to join me in that world, but he very much wants an evening, like a nightcap of some sort. Like he wants a flavor, he wants something to drink before bed. Maybe it's habit, I don't know. It's ritual for him. And now he's like mixing like sugar-free juice with water and like, but he wants something that's going to relax him. And there's nowhere to get this here. Do you have an online component? Are you shipping these things?
We
What are we
aren't
doing?
shipping. Shipping
Okay.
is very expensive and complicated when it
Yeah.
comes to like
Okay.
bottled heavy drinks. But the ingredient that comes to mind is there are two best sellers. So quarter one ended Monday. They're the time that we're recording this. Our two best sellers for January, February, March were Kava Haven, which is a bottled spirit with kava, and another one called Droma Calm. And Droma Calm has like molasses and ginger and all those ingredients I mentioned, plus valerian root, which would make you sleep nice, potentially make you sleep
Oh,
nice.
I
Okay.
want that.
Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna have to find a place to source these things here. I
Yes,
know
so
that I'm in
Droma
California,
Calm.
and you guys talk about how like Midwest is like late adapter to things happening in LA and San Francisco and New York. But everywhere in California, other than those
Yes,
like
I know.
metropolitans, we're also late adapters generally. So I can't tell you, my cousins grew up in the Midwest, but they would live in cities where we lived in small town California. They were always so much more hip to the things that were happening than I was. And I'm like, wait, I'm in California. I'm supposed to know
It should be
first.
cooler. It
What
should
the
be cooler than
heck?
you.
So weird. Stop this. How come you in Columbus, Ohio know more than me in Jackson, California?
That's fun.
Oh my
Yeah,
god,
we would
that's
call
so
that
funny.
category functional, and it's a huge part of our sales. But wine, we very much pride ourselves on our wine shelves. People, I get this all the time. People come in, they're like, okay, I tried a bunch of non-alcoholic wine and I hated it all. What do you have? And I say, oh, okay.
Great.
No
What do you
pressure.
I'm like, yeah, tell me what have you tried? Let's figure this out. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, name, like they can't name one brand. I'm like, okay, all right. Well, just know that we've been open a long time. We say we've kissed a lot of frogs. We listen very close to customer feedback. I remind people it's not going to be the same, but it tastes lovely. It's not super sweet. There's very few calories, and
Mm.
obviously, no headache, no hangover.
Yeah, that's such a factor, actually, the few calories thing, because the challenge that I see in my brain when I'm thinking like, well, I'm not drinking and I'm working to get towards this goal in my body. And I know that sugar and calories is going to be a factor. So like, why am I going to replace a non-alcoholic drink with an alcoholic one. The alcohol one at least like had some punch,
Yeah, it
if
does
you will.
something.
So
Yeah.
like, why am I going to switch this for this? But hearing that that's a factor that's being considered in these beverages is interesting, and it will open my eyes
all
to
very
taking a
well.
look.
That's the hardest work we've done, is having to debunk this idea that everyone thinks everything must be loaded with sugar. Now, that being said, we do have items that are zero sugar, and those sell very well. Our customers are very sugar aware. So when we're evaluating products to bring on our shelves, we definitely look at sugar content, because our customers study.
Yeah, we care. I'm sure a lot of people make the choice to stop drinking alcohol largely for the effects of the sugar and those effects that our bodies have. That's really
I mean, this
interesting.
could be a whole other podcast episode, so I'll keep this short. But we see women, we see lots of women who are perimenopause, right? That's me. That's me.
Yeah.
Who do all the things, right? They do the organic eating, the Orange Theory, the yoga, the Pilates, all the treatments, but they're stubborn about giving up alcohol. And I think, or not giving up or even cutting back. And I think unless you're willing to at least cut back, it's hard to reach your health and fitness goals.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not a health professional, but
but this is
I talk to a lot of people.
Well, I'm thinking about the fact that you have 3 stores. Like, you're obviously fabulous. You're so educated. You are passionate about what you're doing, but you can't be in all 3 of those locations. So how are you finding other like high achieving, fabulous people that can staff those stores so that you can deliver like your mission in the way that I can see is so important to you?
Our team is amazing that we've built over time, and we love them. And they're only at the store by them. Like, people are never together at the store at the same time. Like, our stores do well, but it's not like they're crowded. There's never any real reason for more than one person to be at the time. So one of my jobs is to kind of create like a team, like togetherness. So actually, I do a team newsletter every week, and it's educational too. So that's the instructional designer part, where, okay, here's the sales numbers, here's the events you need to know for the week, and then here are education pieces. So I have quizzes, like I'll watch like little short videos and like marketing materials, and it's really short, but like the education piece is huge for our staff to make sure that they're keeping up on like the attributes of all the products.
That's
I
fantastic
think
and smart.
The other part answers your question is, so Andy and I are both kind of like tech geeks. We love techie things. So we use Notion productivity software. I don't know if you've ever played with Notion or if you've looked at Notion, but that's where we've built all of our like handbooks, standard operating procedures, guides, like policies, manuals. We've built it all in Notion.
Susan, did you hear that?
Oh my God, you're speaking our language.
Susan, that 1 minute was for you.
We have, Kristin, we have a very dear friend of ours, very like our bestie, basically our third host on this show, Susie Adamson, who is a productivity coach. Like, that's what she does.
Systems and productivity.
And she is like, literally, you just like, I'm sure when she listens, she's going to be like, oh, amazing. So
that was so much more of a PG than how I would have described her reaction to it. So use your imagination, ladies. Okay. Well, Kristin, I could talk to you for a zillion years, but we respect time and energy and effort, and even our listeners. So please tell us, how can people connect with you? Where can they find you? What's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, I would love it if people followed us on Instagram. So at drinkorangily.com.
On my way.
So we rebranded last year, and the pronunciation of our name stresses people out. I tell them there are no wrong answers. Think of it as like if you smushed orange and happily together, Orangily. And okay, so shout out to Maven Space. Part of that rebranding work was with Trezene Atkins, an amazing trademark attorney who's an indie maven. She's coached us through that. And the reason we chose that name, it's because it's unique and we could trademark it. But also we wanted something that felt fun, fresh, and elegant.
Oh, and you guys are all that. Well, so well done. Like, that's what I think about with you guys.
Yeah, coming up with a business name is really, really hard.
It really is. Trust me, I know. Okay, so we can follow you there, and then local, like if you're in Indianapolis, and you're in Central Indiana, or even in the Midwest, you've got 3 stores. We've 2 in Carmel.
Go to our website. Orangily.com, and you can place a pickup order for any of them.
Amazing. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing all of this with us and being such a cool, awesome, elegant, fun lady. Oh my gosh. I
Thank you
just
for the
love you so
opportunity.
much. Oh my God.
Wonderful. All right. We'll
And
see you
keep it
next
up,
week,
Cheryl,
guys.
with alcohol free since December.
Thank you.
So month 5,
Thank you.
keep it up.
Yeah, I haven't been counting. And it very much is like, and this is probably just a personality thing, is I've had to tell myself it's essentially one day at a time. It's not like I don't need one day at a time, but I've told myself, like, it's not that I'll never have another drink again. It's just that right now it's not serving me, and that the other things, my other priorities are more important to me than that. And that's really helped me reframe my sober lifestyle, if you will. My alcohol-free
we hear
lifestyle.
all the time where people have taken an extended break from alcohol, and then they'll have a drink one night, and they're like, "Oh my God, I felt horrible for days."
Yeah,
like, I so regret it. That was the worst.
Oh, well, yesterday, actually, I saw my
All the time.
rheumatologist. I saw my rheumatologist yesterday because I have my own autoimmune conditions. And I told him, I said, I have stopped drinking in December. And he said, "Oh my God, do you feel better?" I'm like, "No, I really don't, but I don't feel worse." So there's that.
Well, I'm actually headed to my rheumatologist right after this. So
We'll have fun. Look at us.
Compare notes sometime.
Look at us inflamed humans just walking around the world.
Yeah, alcohol solves a lot, but it doesn't solve everything. Or
No, it
putting
sure
alcohol.
doesn't. All right, you guys. Well, thank you for being here. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
That's a wrap. Thank you for joining us on this journey of laughter, life, and growth.
And remember, you're not alone on this path to success. We're right here with you every step of the way.
Please remember to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in today's conversation, we'd be thrilled if you would leave us a review on your favorite platform. Your feedback means the world to us.
And don't forget to share this podcast with your friends, family, and anyone who could use a good laugh and some practical insight into navigating the challenges and triumphs of our minds, body, soul, and business.
Remember, we're doing this right.